and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
All right, well, hey, good evening and welcome to another live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. I'm Brian Fulford and soon to be joined by my normal host, my partner in the production thing that we've been doing for the last 6 years, AD, who's just working on some technical things right now. So when AD jumps in, we'll get going. I want to thank everybody for tuning in a little bit early and making sure that you are logged in, watching us on YouTube and Facebook. Hopefully, you have already hit the thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber on those platforms, please go ahead and do so. And go ahead and hit that thumbs up button as well. We'd appreciate that. And please make sure you're following the Black College Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at my BCSN1, the number 1. And of course, go to the app on your Google or Apple Play Store. Just search my JBN or my BCSN. Well, here we are on the 14th. We really have 2 more weeks. These are the final 2 weeks before week 0 begins. So we're counting down the days to the start of the college football season. From a lot of what I could tell on social media, you've got a lot of schools that had their practices, scrimmages over the weekend, whether it be their first or second. Some good video I've seen, of course, from Florida A&M, who had their second scrimmage. I saw Alcorn State had their scrimmage as well. Grambling had Big Fan Fest. Maybe might have been one of the first schools to do their Fan Fest. Kind of got out in front of everybody this past Saturday. And of course, if you have HBCU League Pass Plus, You saw the coverage that was provided in part by the Black College Sports Network as they were at Grambling. Some of the guys and gals bringing you some of that live action, some really interesting. I would say some really interesting commentary through the course of broadcast, almost like in a Hard Knocks, just without all of the HBOs and stuff. So if you watched that and you enjoyed the coverage, go ahead and hit us up. Let us know you enjoyed. I'm curious to see whether Grambling has decided or whether they found their QB1. Good friend Lashanda Love, that's at Yard Talk HBCU. I think I saw some tweets from her, and she seemed to think that Grambling found their QB1. So that remains to be seen. Of course, that's going to be, what a lot of people seem to be picking a little low for Grambling this year, which that seems to have caught fan by surprise, but understood with as much turnover as coming in on that roster at Grambling. It's sort of to be expected a little bit, to see a little unsure in terms of where Grambling will fit this upcoming year. Alcorn State is a big question for me. I'm curious to see what that quarterback situation is going to look like. I have personally picked Alcorn State to win the SWAC West Division. So I'm curious to see what Alcorn looks like this year. And they've got an interesting non-conference schedule. So one of the things that Drew's going to do when he does get back in, we're going to break down some of the, we like to do things a top 5 mindset, but some of the things that we're going to down and take a look at, we're going to look at some of the top FCS versus FBS matchups. So those are, or what many may call those paycheck games. And just kind of glance through the list, all of them are road games. I don't see one matchup between the Fs going to an FBS actually a home game. And so, we'll talk about and look at some of those games that we have circled. Then we'll also get into talking about non-conference HBCU versus HBCU matchups. Of course, headlining in week 0, you got the MEAC Challenge with Howard and Alabama State in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're talking about those kind of games. Most of those games are happening in the 3 to 4 weeks of the season. We've also got some FCS versus D2 matchup games. Most of those occurring week 1, a couple of them popping in during week 3. And then what I think are really the interesting matchups. And if the MEAC, SWAC, CIAA, SIAC are ever to get their respect from the general CS Division II region ranking people who do the voting, the people who make the ranks and decide kind of which teams eventually make those tournaments, those postseason tournaments, and really it goes into that conference play, is how your conference is perceived. Well, what I would like to call the HBCU versus PWI, or as my good friend Dr. Kenyatta Cavill calls the HWC. So those HBCU versus HWCU matchups that are not only on the FCS level, but at the Division II level, there's some interesting matchups there that have to be explored and talked about. And so we will do all of that on this show, and we'll kind of break down some of those games and maybe give you our top 5 matchups through the course of the year. Some of the games really exciting, really big time matchups. And of course, look, who's going to those games? Because those are the games that really are going to shape what the season is going to look like in terms of perception. And, I look, think about the end of the season and you say, how many HBUs will be playing in the postseason? Well, I'll tell you, a big factor in all of that will be how they perform in the early part of the season. So the month of September is more than just a feeling out period for your conference schedule, but it really is an opportunity to lay out before the voters, the general population, the writers, the general FCS Division II community, that we have some talented teams and so on and so forth. So that's one of the things that we'll be talking about here a little bit later. Show. I want to give a shout out to some folks I see right now in the chat room on YouTube. Mary 305. Appreciate you always being one of the first people to jump in. Edwin Moore. M474, Swag Fan 100, also jumping in. I'm sure there's some people on Facebook as well, and so we'll get into or giving those folks a shout out as well as we see some of them. Obviously, the professional ranks, the first weekend of preseason, really. So you probably had a full slate of NFL preseason games. This week and next week are really your best opportunities to see those HBCU players that hope to make their way onto the 53-man or the practice squads. I know, personally, I know Florida A&M's Marquise Bell looked pretty good. Actually started, if I'm not mistaken, Dallas Cowboys as they played the Denver Broncos. And I didn't see this game, but I'm kind of reading here from this past weekend, HBCU Sports, highlighting Shamar Bridges, the former Fort Valley State star, who showed up pretty big in that contest, catching 4 passes on 5 targets for 62 yards and a touchdown. Baltimore ended up getting a 23-10 win. I think that game was on Friday. So as we go, we'll take a chance or take a peek at some of the performances and names that we see from the past week and see if we can spotlight some guys. And hey, you guys tell us, obviously we can't see every game, although I'll tell you, one of the things I noticed, if you're an NFL fan, I'm curious. I noticed that the NFL is bringing out this new online streaming thing, which is called, ironically, NFL Plus, where apparently you can pay either $4.99 a month or $9.99 a month. You get access to all of the NFL games, especially those games out of market, and you even get a chance, if you're paying the more expensive monthly package, you can catch on replays and watch the replays and the all 32, and so that's kind of interesting to see, or all, excuse me, not all 32, all 22, as there's only 22 players on the field at one time. That's where that comes from. But I'm interested, how does that, I've never had direct TV, so I'm not one of those persons who's had direct. I've always had to go to a sports bar or some other means, that's all I'll say, to watch things at home, especially watch my. I'm interested. Okay. Okay, hold on a second. I got audio streams coming in from all over the place. I'm sorry about that. Libby Drew is in the house. I thought that was, for some reason, I thought that was my producer pulling the plug on me because I started talking about the Colts. But no, it was some random window that I had opened, Drew, that all of a sudden started playing some music, and I had no idea what was going on. So I'm like, let me get out of this. All right, so there you can see him, AD Drew. AD, how you doing? You got all your computer issues figured out?
Yeah, a little bit of a connection issue, but got it figured out. So I guess that's why we are supposed to log in early enough to figure that stuff out before we go live. But I didn't figure it out until the intro that I had an issue.
There you go. See, well,
So had to do a hard reboot.
it is what it is. It's like,
you know how that goes.
It's like coming to the game with the right cleats on, or making sure you got a chin strap, and and then all of a sudden you get out there, you got the helmet, but then you get out there and rip a chin strap. You're not properly equipped to play, so you got to run back to
Or
the locker room, get the right equipment,
forget to tape your
and
ankles
then
or
be ready.
something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I'm interested in, as I was just kind of setting up the show today, talking a little bit about, we'll get into a lot of the non-conference and the matchups between what the Czech games, the AU versus HBCU matchups, the HBCU versus HWCU matchups. We'll get into talking about all of that here. And, I was also mentioning camps. You've seen a lot of videos. Well, I won't say a lot. Let me back up. I've seen more than what I've normally seen, spotlighting different practices and things like that. What have you seen from scrimmages, or just from an overall perspective of how you see fall camps being covered compared to previous years? What good, better, not so good, more improvement? What are you seeing out there?
I'm definitely seeing more people covering fall camps, but everybody has hopes during fall camps. If you are a fan of a team and you are not excited about your team right now and have high hopes about your team, that's a statement about your team and your fandom of that team. But right now, it's for me, fall camp is just like uh, a shade above the Underworld Olympics. And what I call the Underworld Olympics, that's stuff like the combines and stuff like that. Everybody looks good when they're just running straight ahead, running the 40 and things like that. Well, in camp, you get some of that same false pretense because you're practicing against your offense. So you're going to see the same coverages, the same plays that the offense is trying to expect if you're the ones or the twos. Just ones, twos. So you're practicing against the same people, same schemes. You're not practicing against scout teams at this stage in practice. So after about a week, 10 days of the same stuff, you know when they come in a with a 21 package or a 3x1 package or something along those lines, you already the plays that they're gonna run. So you you got the cheat code if you're on defense. If you're on offense, if you see the down on top of the tight end like that, you know what kind of blitz they're coming with. So it's a little bit of false. So you can't really get a true sense. Also, at this time of year, defenses tend to be ahead of offenses. So those offenses that have quarterback competitions or where it looks like their offense is struggling, it's just a natural progression. This is always ahead of offense at this point in time. So don't get your hopes too high, but don't be too low, too hard on your team either at this point in time, Brian.
I will say this, and one of the things that I've tried to do, and anybody who is familiar with how to use or create lists on Twitter. I don't know if Instagram allows you to do this, but one of the things I created on Twitter under the Black College Sports Network Twitter feed, under the list, I created a list with all of the HBCU football teams. Now, I have, let's see, how many HBCU football teams are there, Drew? Can you think offhand what the total number, all levels?
I want to say 54 is our number right now. No, you've got 21 on the FCS level.
Yes,
You've got
right.
you've got 13 in the SIAC, so that brings us to 34. You've got 11 in this double A, 11 HBCUs. We know there are 12 teams in the conference, everybody. So that brings us to 45, correct?
Mhm. Correct.
Now let's start adding our Division II independents. Well, we got 52 because we know we have 7 outside of those 2 conferences that are either Division II or NAIA. So 52. We just did the math, y'all.
All right, so 52. So that's pretty good. I have 48. Now, there may be football programs that don't have Twitter handles, but I've got 48. So I feel like I've got a good representation of all the HBCU football teams. Now, here's where I was going with that. I'm going to use, follow FAMU obviously, but I really like what FAMU football and FAMU athletics are doing with their coverage of fall camp. Even to the point, Drew, that they're doing game interview clips, not only with Coach Simmons, but with players. And I really feel like they're setting a high standard for, those Rattler Nation who flows. Um, but anyway, where I was going is, if I go down this list and I just scroll through to kind of see, what other programs are mentioning or tweeting. Here I come across Tuskegee football, who did a scrimmage. What first official scrimmage was at Auburn University, right, Drew?
Yes, as they continue to work on their practice facility, their stadium.
Right. So, I'm just scrolling through here, continuing to scroll. I've got Alcorn, I've got Morehouse football, um, you know, but what I'm getting at is I should be scroll through and I should be able to kind of see what's happening. So challenge to HU sports administrations, but more so fans, find out and inquire what's going on with your programs. Now, a lot of programs don't necessarily run from the actual individual football team feeds. It may come more so from the athletic department. The athletic department feed may be sending out stuff, but I'm really interested to see what information or who's tweeting out information. As I look around, Texas Southern is a program that as I'm looking here, I see Texas Southern dropping some highlights and recap from their scrimmage. At the Aggies, North Carolina A&T is on. They do a great job. Been doing a Southern University also has stepped their game up. Grambling stepped their game up. I'm trying to see. I want to mention somebody from the deep. Obviously, um, Tuskegee has done a good job. Lincoln, Missouri, interesting enough, Drew. Lincoln, Missouri does a good job of tweeting out information. I see Howard, Tennessee State football. There's another program. So where with all of that is to say, if you're not
Edward Waters
familiar,
is pretty good at tweeting out stuff also.
Edward Waters is, and it makes me wonder. I need to go back and look at my members to see who I am following, who I'm not. But anyway, this is just, and where I'm going with Drew is, we're at an age where if you want to get fans engaged, if you want to create season ticket packages and opportunities, you got to give people content. We got into this because we couldn't find information. I mean, literally, I remember Roy and I got together and sort of this Black College Sports Network thing came about because we just wanted to cover more about Florida A&M. We started just really trying to bring more coverage to Florida A&M, and then we realized and looked around the marketplace and we're like, other schools maybe benefit. And so, decades later, you see other people that come along. Box to Row came along, and other folks like HBCU Game Day, and always there. Mr. Moore was always there. He's one of the OGs to this platform and this medium. So that's a site that's always been good. HBCU Sports with the SWAC fans. So anyway, it's grown. There's more people coming to the marketplace, more websites, more coverage, different angles, and that's what we need. We need more people and more. Shout out to our friends at the HBCU Pro Sports Media Association as well. There's a group of like-minded media journalists, content creators, broadcasters are trying to bring more coverage to HBCUs and sports just in general, not just football. So let's do this. Let's take a break, Drew, and let's get into sort of our first conversation of talking about non-conference schedules. We can kind of decide which one we got. We got a lot of stuff to cover in terms. Maybe we spotlight the paycheck games and kind of look at our top 5 paycheck FBS versus FCS matchups that we're most interested in. Would be from just the fact that the game is happening, or maybe Drew, there could be an upset brewing in one of these particular games for an HBCU. We'll talk about that and more on the other side. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap. We'll be back in.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry. Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it. Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Okay, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Ooh, sorry about that little vocal flume there. Brian Fulford, AD Drew here. Appreciate you guys coming in, joining us, and I'll apologize in advance if my signal is coming out, or maybe this stream signal is coming out with a little bit of choppiness to you. Not really sure why that is. We are, as our producer likes to say, you guys need to get on hard lines. And I don't know. I'm getting all my signals telling me I'm getting a good signal, better than what I got on Wednesday, Drew. So I don't know what to tell you. Maybe we need to, might have to start renting some studios and get out of our home office. I don't know. Just threw that out there, right? I don't know.
I got you. I got you, man.
Yeah. So, all right. I'll tell my producer off channel, double check tell him to check the YouTube feed. Something about the quality they're pumping out the YouTube. So I don't know. It's above my pay grade even. So hopefully we can keep that going. Always want to make sure you're following us on Facebook. You can also watch the show via our Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Again, go watch and actually go download it on your Google or Apple Play Store. My JBN, my BCSN is where you can find it. So, let's start with it might not be AD though. Edwin says switch those cables out, AD. I don't know. It might not be the cables.
It ain't me. I'm hardwired, my brother. I'm hardwired.
He's hardwired. I'm the one that's on Wi-Fi, but I swear I'm getting a good signal. I just did a speed test. Anyway, I love this. I'll have to figure a way how to get hard. Although, Drew, and side note here, if my router is Wi-Fi router, does it matter if I am hardlined into the wireless router?
You don't lose anything in the translation from the router to the PC.
Okay. I take it. So okay, that makes sense. That's I'm using that new T-Mobile 5G wireless router, which I'll tell you, it's better than what I had previously with the cables. So any tech people out there who's watching, love the suggestions. Go ahead and hit us up in the chat room or hit me up on Twitter at DRB365. Okay, Drew, let's talk Paycheck games. Big time matchups, and we're gonna do like we always do, Drew. 5. And pretty much most of these games run from week 0, which begins with FAMU at North Carolina, all the way to week 3. So pretty much the first, let's see, in week 1, there are 6 games in week 1, and there are 6 games in week 2, with a few games in week 3, and of course the headliner starting the season in week 0. So let's kind of go through top 5 here. Let's go top 5 like we like to do. Drew, are you ready for this?
Let's roll.
All right, so I'm gonna start with you. Let's give me your top 5. Number 1, let's start with, and this is no particular order. We're just gonna go, or do we want to do it that way? Because I honestly didn't break it down that way. We're just gonna go, top, 5. Let's just go 5. So our top 5. Give me your first one. Give me your first pick here.
Top 5. Which category are we doing again?
This is This is our Paycheck games. This is the Paycheck CS versus the FBS matchups.
All right, top 5. I'm trying to find the list that you.
It's at the top, page 1.
Okay, there we go. I was on page. I was on page 2. Top 5 Paycheck games. I am going with Alcorn State
come
Tulane.
on now, how are you? Is that your? Is that like your? Why that game? What appealing about that game? What is appealing to that game? And when is that game? That's week 2.
That's week 2. Tulane is one of the bottom rungs of the FBS. If Alcorn State is who we think Alcorn State can be, this could be a game in which possibly could see one of our HBCUs get an upset. I definitely expect Alcorn to compete in that game.
You got now. See, you think that low of Tulane when actually, I'm just quickly did a Massey rating search. They're actually number 86 in Massey. They're not as low as they've been in the past. Just to throw that out there to you.
Right.
All right. Well, that's who you picked. So I mean, it is who it is. I'll go with my number 5. Now, again, I'm not really sure what order we're doing this in, so I don't know if we're starting with upset-minded games or not. But I'm gonna
Those just the
go.
ones I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the Week 2 matchup: Texas Southern traveling to North Texas. Now, I will say at the research on North Texas is ranked 1 and 12th. New members of Conference USA after being part of the AQ7, I think it was. So they just recently moved into the FBS level. They may not be at full competitive strength yet. So this is a big opportunity for Texas Southern. And, this now, I think a part of this, Drew, will come. Um, this is an opportunity for them coming off the heels of the Labor Day Classic against Prairie View. So if they have a successful game against Prairie View, there's a lot of momentum going into that trip to North Texas. And North Texas being ranked 112th, Drew, I don't think an HBCU is playing anyone lower. I'm just doing a quick scan here. I think that is the lowest ranked. No, it's not quite the lowest. I'll tell you who the other is in a second. That is the second lowest. So the second lowest rated team according to Massey. So I think that's a good opportunity to get a win for Texas Southern. All right, let's go to number 4. Or your number 2, maybe.
My number 2 game is going to be, get back to the page. I lost the page there. A&T Duke. Because A&T has played competitively against Duke. Now, this is not your Duke of old, folks. But, in North Carolina, where both teams recruit and live, definitely going to see if A&T can hold their own against the Blue Devils.
Yeah, that's a good spot for the Aggies. Duke ranked 103 on the Massey ratings, of course, 131 teams. Duke 103. We've seen the Aggies pull off upsets, and so that's a good spot for them. I like that one. My number 2 is Grambling at Arkansas State to open the season, Drew. I think as tough and challenging as the first game is for any coach, especially Hugh Jackson, but Arkansas State is ranked 114th, according to Massey, just 2 spots lower than North Texas. So this is an upset spot here for Grambling, and I think it'd go a long way in getting people excited about the season for Grambling should they go Arkansas State. What do you think a line for that game might be, Drew? Just without looking, what do you think that might be?
28 maybe, minus 28. I'm just throwing a number.
Ooh, okay. That's a good number because I would take Grambling and the points in that. Just on GP, I think I'd take Grambling on that. Now the metrics show a for Arkansas State, but I think that might be one of the few wins Arkansas State gets this year. All right, here we go. Number 3, Drew. What do you got? Number 3.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I was looking at the wrong flow. for
Why do you
this
don't
one.
stay on the same page? Stay on the same page, right there at the
Oh,
bottom of the page.
I was looking at the team rankings. That's what I was looking at.
Oh, I got it. Okay. You flip.
Yeah. South Carolina State and Central Florida. That's going to be another one. I'm trying to see where Central Florida is ranked at. And, oh, here we go. It's going to be a tough one for South Carolina State, but I think this is going to be a good measure stick as Massey has Central Florida at 66. So South Carolina State, the defending BAC champion, the defending Celebration Bowl champion. We know that team is built on defense. While I do not expect South Carolina State win that game, I want to see if there could be some people who are competitive in that game and draft stock rise, such as Jacoby Durant did last year.
Okay. I'm head to favor a South Carolina State. They've played at UCF before in this program. I don't know if it was 2 years ago. And when I say that, may have been the 2019 season. It definitely wasn't last. It was probably the 2019 season, the last time they played at UCF, if I'm not mistaken. So there might be a few players that are familiar with that trip, but I'll just tell you that place will be rocking. I mean, you talk about one of the best college football home advantages. UCF has one of them, and that is going to be the difficult part for South Carolina State on the road against them that particular weekend. All right, my number 3 is I'm gonna go with. I was looking at the Alabama A&M at UAB contest for number 3 here. This, Alabama A&M should be able to bring a good crowd to the game. This
Alabama
is
A&M
in
will probably outdraw UAB at their home stadium.
That would be telling. That would be. I don't agree with that, but I don't know. Look, I don't know. I can't sit here and
Alabama
profess to know.
A&M in Birmingham. Their
Yeah,
base
but are they
in
going to show up though?
Birmingham to
Okay, I
their
mean,
brand new progressive field. Yeah, Alabama A&M faithful will be there if allowed to be there, and I say if allowed. Seats are made available if UAB hasn't bought up all the seats. Alabama
well, I was going to
will
say
make that game a sellout.
so you're discounting by saying that you're sort of discounting the UAB faithful, and that they may not have a very good home base or home crowd for that game.
They don't compared to an Alabama M. Now, let me put an asterisk by that. If that was Alabama State playing at UAB, that game would definitely be a sellout.
Now, here's a factor. I should have done my research here. This game is actually going to be played on Thursday. How much does that change the atmosphere?
A lot of it. That definitely changes the atmosphere because people have to go to work more. Get your local Birmingham alumni at the game. What you will not get are the weekend travelers traveling in to watch that game.
How far is Huntsville from Birmingham again? An hour?
Just under 2. Maybe
So
hour 45.
That should be a good crowd then for A&M. A&M should be able to get there. I mean, that game will probably start 7 Central, I would imagine. I can't imagine it would start
Probably
later
7:30.
than 8.
No later than 7:30.
Okay. So, it's a Thursday. I think back to a couple years
But
ago.
it's the
Remember when
Thursday
Alabama
going into
State?
the holiday weekend. So that may play a factor because people may just go ahead and take off Friday, considering that they have Monday off.
Good point. Remember when Alabama State opened the season? I believe they might have opened the season at Yee. It's possible. That was a couple
At
years
where?
ago. I
At
think it
where?
was UAB. UAB.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where they opened the season at. This was like maybe 2019. That's where they opened the season at. And so, look, that game was closer than I think a lot of people predicted. So, um, I saw somebody in the comments, Tony Webb said that's why uh, they did that. They're not dumb. Yeah, he may have purposely scheduled that game on Thursday just to keep the large Alabama A&M fan base from overtaking their stadiums. So that's a great point there. Appreciate that, Tony. All right, two more left. Got your fourth and fifth.
We're gonna stay with the Alabama A&M theme because they will get 9 days off and head a little bit further south in Alabama to Troy, Alabama. Now Troy is about maybe 4 to 5 hours from campus. In Huntsville, Troy is about maybe 3 hours from Birmingham. It's less than an hour from Montgomery, and about 2 hours from Mobile, which is another place Alabama A&M will frequent. This time they'll be the home team down there. No, technically they're the road team, but anyway, that's a side story. I give them a puncher's chance against Troy if they do not get too beat up against UAB. Troy being the 107th team in Massey right now, but assuming that they come out their game healthy and that this new defense that Coach Kyle Maynard has recruited in with a lot of D1 transfers, I can get gel and have some chemistry. I give them a puncher's chance against Troy.
Okay. Number 4 for me, I'm going to go to Chapel Hill, week 0 game. FAMU is North Carolina. And look, I know the Rattlers can win this ball game. It always comes down to the will. Okay. Now, what I do find encouraging for FAMU is coming into this ball game with a more experienced ball club than North Carolina. Actually, FAMU comes in with returning quarterback, key receivers returning, running back. Yes, the offensive line will be a bit new. Defensively, they're coming in just as strong with, even though they only have returners, the fill-ins, the guys who were on the 2 deep or the transfers are going to make a significant enough impact that the defense will come in, I think, and be just as good, maybe better than a year before. The thing about North Carolina, the Tar Heels, I did the math on this. The Tar Heels lost their top 2 offensive producing backs. A, their quarterback, and B, their running back. Those 2 guys, they accounted for probably 80 to 90% of the passing and rushing for that team. So, week 0, Drew, you got a new quarterback, new running back. If FAMU's defense can catch them while they're not in the groove early, anything's possible. They let FAMU hang around in this ball game, and the offense doesn't puke on themselves. Then this game could be tighter in the fourth quarter than North Carolina will want it to be. Let's go to the last one. Our last matchup, top 5 matchup that we're looking forward to.
Tennessee State, Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State, I believe they are due into the FBS ranks. If I got that correct, in Conference USA, the number 99 in the Massey ratings. Coach Eddie George, you're putting out there that you want to go to FBS. This is your first test. This is your quiz if you're going to come to FBS level.
Okay. So that's interesting. I didn't look. What are the what are what are the odds of Tennessee State take one against Middle Tennessee? Did you look that up yet?
Right now, Middle Tennessee State is uh, they are a 27-point favorite right now
You know,
against Tennessee State.
there's some real. Let me tell you guys, there's some real advantage that you can jump on these numbers. We'll talk more about that angle next week, but and I'll tell you what, one of the things, Drew, I've noticed a lot of times books, we're talking sports book, if you're in a place that is, that you have legalized gambling opportunities, books a lot of times will use massy numbers and their predictive model. They don't know. They really have no clue. So they will use the massy numbers. And I'll tell you, some of these numbers are so wild. You, I wish I would have kept last year, but there's an opportunity to take advantage of some of these numbers. We'll talk about that next week. My last game, number 5 from now. This isn't quite a game that I think the HBCU team can win. In terms of atmosphere, it's the game that I'm most interested in, and that's Southern at LSU. The battle in Baton Rouge. I believe it's the first ever meeting between the two schools in the capital city of Louisiana, and I applaud all parties. Anybody who had a hand in making this happen, kudos. It'll be played at night, I believe, which I hear, you know, Death Valley, LSU is one of those electric atmospheres at night. Prop Southern, they're gonna walk out of there with $750,000, I think, and they don't have to travel far. They can sleep in their own bed. Only Drew, the battle
Less than
for
10 minutes away.
more importantly than all of that, Drew, it's the battle of the neck. Whose band is going to play neck better? I've seen a post that says LSU somehow discovered neck. We all know that to be false. And we know Southern being in the SWAC, that's just the SWAC anthem. So I'm looking for. I think it's a matter of who's going to come out and play it first. Will Southern have the will LSU have the audacity to try to play first? Will they try to, you know what I'm saying? There's just so much going on, and I may not even pay attention to the game. I think the back and forth between the bands may be a better battle and than the action on the field. So that's why I'm looking forward to that game. I hope a great Southern shows up. I don't know, all the political, stuff that
You
goes
allotted
around
Southern
that game.
ample amount of tickets. That's all I was going to say.
Yes, yeah, and will there be a secondary market that will allow Southern fans to buy tickets and so on and so forth? But I hope that's a great atmosphere because that's one that I'm looking forward to for the let me see, what is that week? That's in week 2. Week 2. Week 2. Southern at LSU. Okay, that's our any honorable mentions.
Can I throw something? No, but I did want to throw out. If Southern and LSU can finally get together after all these years, when FAM and FSU gonna get together?
Man, look, I thank you. I keep thinking the same thing. You've got the Mississippi schools playing. I think you've got all corners playing Ole Miss or something like that. You've got Mississippi schools playing each other. I mean,
and thank you to the University of Miami for normally putting either Bethune or FAM in your rotation every 3 years.
Yeah. I just look, being in the same city though. Who knows, man? They keep saying it's political. I would love to be able to maybe we'll have to have that comment with BJ.
Two schools separated by a railroad track.
Look, I know. There's a lot going there that I'll be able to break down. Quick, before we go to break, let's kind of browse through the chat rooms and just kind of answer. A lot of folks are dropping some questions in there. Let's see what I can see. Tony Webb's got a few questions in there. He also thinks Alabama has the chance of beating UAB and Troy. So, that's interesting. We're going to talk about the Tennessee Eastern Washington matchup coming up in a second on the other side of the break, Tony, just to let you know. Let's see. Lawrence Reeves. He's got Tennessee State at Middle Tennessee State, as I think he's got that as one of his top games, or be his top game overall. Let's see.
Edward Dwight Moore says, thanks to LSU for the paycheck. Beyond that, no interest.
Yeah, look, I agree, but the smack to the band, I mean, if I just think that's special. You know, you got to be able to see that. I got to see that. That'll be interesting to see how that gets played up. And let's see. I just saw the question in here. Oh, from Edwin Moore asked me, do I think FAMU is going undefeated this year, or UNC is going to be sorry this year? I will say this, Edwin. I did not predict for Florida A&M to go undefeated this year. So I did pick them to win the SWAC, though. I'm the lone wolf, though, Drew. I'm the lone wolf that picked FAMU amongst everybody in the BCSN family. So a lot of y'all don't eat crow, and I want my pay me my money when FAMU handles this. But yeah, I don't think they're going undefeated. Hey, that'd be great, but that's a lot to ask. Anything else you see out there, Drew? Any other questions or any other comments before we run the break real quick?
Let's take it to break.
All right, you're in the BCSN SportsWrap. We'll be back in a couple minutes right here on the Sports Network.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again.
This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
For 200.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian Fulford, AD Drew here. Make sure you're following the Black College Sports Network on Twitter and Instagram at MyBCSN1, the number 1. If you're watching us on the YouTube stream, go ahead and hit that like thumbs up there. We appreciate it. And make sure you're subscribed to us there. Appreciate everyone who's in the chat. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to us, whether you're our BCSN Sports Wrap Facebook page or the Black College Sports Facebook page. We appreciate you. And hey, everybody, look, I know you guys listen to podcasts. We all gone so video digital with our podcast, but if you want to listen to the podcast, and hey, we appreciate it. Even if you just go to the page, listen for minutes, and rate, review. I mean, we'll take that. It's cheap, but we'll take it. But go to the BCSN Pod Zone. Everywhere that you listen and podcast, just search BCSN Pod Zone. We're on Apple. We're on iHeart. We're on Google. We're on Spotify. All of the podcast platforms. But we really would appreciate you checking out all of the shows that appear on the Black College Sports Network. That's our show, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the O-Right Zone, the pregame show drops shows. Now it'll be a little more common. Brave Talk with Charles Edmond covering Alcorn State, and the Carlos Brown show, which obviously Carlos does his show on Saturdays, primarily covering Southern. Anything I missed on there, Drew?
I think that's it. You said Inside Football with BJ. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
and maybe some specials on the round table.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, we're expecting with this season upcoming, Brandon BJ Jones Inside HBCU Football should be coming back for another season. So that too. So all of these shows, if you miss them, if you missed it, you got to be subscribed onto the podcast. And in that way, when you're driving into work or you're sitting in the office a little bored and you want to just listen to something, we've got you covered. We're just trying to put so many different voices and different opinions on how we all consume this HBCU content. All right. So let's see, just kind of peeping back through the chat room. All right, let's go to HBCU versus HBCU matchups that will occur non-conference speaking. So non-conference games that occur during the course of the season. This is actually, as I'm looking, I know we added a few games that I know we left off through. So this might be a little hard to kind of do an overall 5. So let's just do our own personal 5. And if we kind of get one that we both agree on, then we'll kind of just over it. So you want to start or you want me to start?
I started last time, I believe, so that means it would be you.
All right, so number one top non-conference HBCU versus HBCU matchup. How could it be anything other than the Southern Heritage Classic in Memphis, Tennessee, Week 2, Jackson State versus Tennessee State? I mean, look, with all of the off the field stuff, okay, that went on behind this game, this should actually be a very competitive ball game. If the metrics prove to be true, Tennessee State should have a much improved team. Okay, we already know what Jackson State is bringing. We're expecting a lot of improvement from a great season a year ago, and I just think this game should be an excellent ball game. And then look, this game has been played in Memphis for the past 30 years. I want to say, Drew, something like that. And this may be the final. This may be the final game, which is, I'm sure for the city of Memphis, people in Memphis, maybe they're sad about it. I've got a friend who's from Memphis. I may have to ask him and kind of get a gauge of what folks from Memphis really feel about this contest. But that's number one for me. What about you?
Let's see. I'm going to start off with the obvious one, Brian. It's got to be the BAC SWAC Challenge. Excuse me, or should I say the BAC Challenge, because the SWAC has not lived up to their end of the BAC SWAC Challenge, having lost 11 of the 15 games. So the Howard versus Alabama State BAC Challenge is going to be my top game, because I want to see if Alabama State can make the SWAC relevant once again.
Yeah, I guess it's the I want on just the pomp and circumstance of it being that game. I wish I could put this in my five, but it is not in my five. So I've got to move. I got to move forward for others. Yeah, I don't have that one in my Rolodex of games. So let's to number two that is in my Rolodex though, and that's going to be FAMU traveling to South Carolina State, week number 6. Um, I don't know what we can call this. The battle for this the battle for the 2022 national championship. I don't know. I mean, look, that's what you may have to call this one, because obviously you had some people. Actually, some people that rated Florida A&M number one at the end of the season. You got a lot of people like Jamie Walker who said Florida State won the Celebration Bowl, so they should be the champs, even though they lost 30-7 last year to FAMU. But anyway, so there's a lot of that, and then just the history of this game. Two former MEAC opponents. FAMU has under Buddy Pugh, with Buddy Pugh as the coach. FAMU has not had a great record against Buddy Pugh. So they finally got over the hump these last two meetings in 2019 and 2021. No, 20. What year is this? Yeah. So 2022 is going to be an interesting matchup, and this game 6. So this is going to be a must see game, and if it wasn't for all the drama with the other thing in Memphis, this would probably be number one for me.
And also, let's think back to the last time FAMU traveled to Orangeburg as a member of the BAC to play South Carolina State. And that's when South Carolina State took defeat from the jaws of victory against Florida A&M, especially the unsportsmanlike penalties at the end of the game that gave FAMU the field position and allowed them to go down and score in about 3 or 4 plays. So, that's definitely a game to put up there as a game I had on my list also. So you've got that one. I have to stay with the FAMU thing, but I have to go to the Division Two opponent that they played. That being Albany State. Albany State will be ranked in the top five, probably in the top 20 of Division Two. So this is not your normal FCS Division Two game. Number one, Albany State's campus is 90 minutes from FAMU's campus, Tallahassee, which means Albany State has the potential to bring a good crowd to Tallahassee. So I expect to see a lot of blue and gold, royal blue and gold in the stands, mixed in with the green and orange. Number two. Number three, Albany State, a top 10 defense in Division Two last year. Overall, they had 6 shutouts and two additional games when they gave up 1 touchdown or less. Hold up, Brian. Those 2 games where they gave up 1 touchdown or less, Brian, on special teams, and one was on a fumble 6. So the defense actually had 8 shutouts, Brian. So, and this is a week 3 match against FAMU. If FAMU is still playing musical quarterback at that point in time, as there's been some debate that FAMU may start to see 2 quarterbacks in the rotation, and then as they get deeper into SWAC play, because they will have 1 SWAC game under their belt, finally settle on one. This may not be the game to determine who your number 1 is, Brian.
I'll tell you, I think we may have talked about this offline. What I find, and I have this game on my list 5 too. So this is one of my top 5, and the reason it's on that list is because for Florida A&M's offense, this is who their first 4 weeks of the season are. Number 1, their own teammates on the other side of them in scrimmage, for one. Number 2, playing an FBS opponent, North Carolina. Number 3, Jackson State. And then the fourth
top-rated
week,
defense of the SWAC last year.
Exactly. And then you've got one of the top defenses in all of Division II in Albany State. So defense, look, Drew, defense travels. So it doesn't matter. They are playing. Look, I don't know if North Carolina's defense is good or not. I'll be honest, but you would like to maybe I'm giving them a little bit of respect and saying all them scholarships they giving away and all them extra got in Chapel Hill, they might have got some guys over there who can play some defense. Okay, hopefully not. Maybe if FAMU just runs through them, like a bad digestive enzyme. But I'm just hoping that I'm just hoping that the offense finds itself. The offense finds itself, but that's a tough stretch at the beginning of the year. So I'm curious to see how Albany State comes to play. So you like that, Drew? I was trying to clean it up. I was trying to find the right word. I had to clean it up a little bit. I didn't want to be too graphic.
You may have found the right word, but that's a hell of an analogy, bro. Give me another game, man.
Sorry about that.
Get my mind off of that analogy.
Okay, so just give you another game in general. How about the I'll go down. Now, okay, so North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central is a game that's one of my 5. Okay, and from the standpoint of, I know A&T has owned this game the last 4 years, and I mean they have run roughshod over their little brothers. Okay, they really have. But this game being played in Charlotte, a neutral site, NFL stadium, you're hoping for a great crowd. You potentially may have more people watching this game in the stadium than the history of this series, Drew, because at the most A&T State seats 20 something maybe, and Central Stadium seats less than that. So
in the teens or
imagine
the low
you
teens.
really could, yeah, you really could have 30, who knows, 40. I mean, if folks in the Carolinas really get comfortable with it being Labor Day, who knows? They may hit 50. So that would be amazing. I hope the Reed's able to support that. I don't know, uh, but it has the potential to be a very big game, the largest uh, attended game in the history of this series. And I think a lot of people are thinking that North Carolina Central will be better than predicted. A&T is already predicted the watered down Big South. So I think that the game has a lot riding on it and could be real big.
All right.
What do you got next?
I've got to go one, and it's kind of obvious for me at this level. Tuskegee Hampton, in which should be called the Battle of Hampton, with one of the toughest schedules for an HBCU in FCS, and one of the few games that are circled on Hampton's schedule as a W is the game against Tuskegee. I am buying the Golden Tigers Kool-Aid. I am buying the Reginald Ruffin cocktail. So, because Tuskegee has a history of defeating FCS HBCUs. So, Ruffin, knowing that history and having and done it himself, I can see Tuskegee pulling that upset in Hampton, Virginia, and just pretty much put a damper on Hampton season. And this is probably one of the 2 or 3 winnable games for Hampton that's scheduled this year.
Well, if you be the prognosticators, yeah, this is slated as one of the few winnable games for Hampton, given what many people think will happen to them when they get into CAA. Yeah, so that's tough, Drew. I love that the Reginald Ruffin. What'd you call it? The Reginald Ruffin
Cocktail. The
Yeah,
Tuskegee Kool-Aid and the Reginald Ruffin cocktail.
There you go. I love it. I love it. What number are we on here? Are we on? This is our last game right here.
I don't know.
I think it is. I think this is number 5. I think this is number 5.
But I do have an honorable mention if we don't have room for another one.
Okay, so
go ahead and get to it.
I'm curious about now. It's funny you mentioned Hampton because obviously the week where they play Howard, the week after they play Norfolk State. I'm curious among Pirate Nation, which rival is bigger? Is it the battle for what they call that? The battle for the HU,
battle of the Bay,
of the real HU,
and then you got real HU,
or
the real HU,
the real HU.
Which you got the real HU,
funny,
you got the Battle of the Bay.
Right. What's funny about that though is that Howard people remind me or will remind anybody that Hampton's former name was Hampton Institute. So it's like, how can you be HU when you were Hampton Institute? I don't know. So I thought that's anytime. And yeah, they always do that when Howard's losing, which they have lost recently in this series. They've done a lot of losing in this series. So of course that's always the throwback is, you can't you're an institute. That's like, but us when we get with Bethune and then when we get upset with them, they're always BCC. So I will go as my last game. I'll go with that Big Cat Classic. down in South Florida this year between Edward Waters and Florida Memorial. I know, there's not a lot of people that are familiar, as these are two teams that are, well, obviously Edward Waters was NAIA. Now they're moving to D2. Florida Memorial is NAIA, but they're in South Florida, so there's a lot of potential. But this is just, it was an exciting game, and I'm going off of the game because we were there last year at Edward Waters. What an exciting electric atmosphere for that contest, and I got a feeling you get the same from Memorial this year. So that's number 5 for me. Is that contest there between Edward Waters and Florida Memorial. What do you have on the honorable mention list? And then I will kind of go through. I know there's a lot of people commenting with their thoughts in the chat room. So what's your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is a pair of games. Bluefield State, they host Johnson C. Smith week 1. They travel to Virginia State week 2. Why is this game interesting to me? Because the rumors of Shawan possibly leaving the CIAA eventually, and State as replacement to Shawan if they were to leave the CIAA. Bluefield State has made no secret about they want to join the CIAA. Across the border in West Virginia from North Carolina, so they're right there on the southern portion of West Virginia. So that's a perfect, geographically, a perfect school to replace Shawan or one else who decides to leave the IAA. Y'all can read between those lines with all and everything. But seeing how Bluefield State in with a second-year football program, IAA opponents.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go through Lawrence Reeves. Here's Lawrence top 5. He goes number 5, the Alabama State versus Howard game at 5. South Carolina State at North Carolina A&T is 4. Yeah, that's a good matchup. I can't believe I left that one off. Number 3, FAMU at South Carolina State. Number 2, Jackson State, Tennessee State, and Memphis. And number 1, this is interesting. Now, does this qualify? His number 1 is Grambling State at Jackson State.
That's a conference game, though. So we got to throw that one out.
But
give us another one, Lawrence. Give us another one. We got to throw out that one.
Well, hold on, Drew. Technically,
you're
it's
all
not
right.
a conference game.
You're right.
I stand corrected. They're conference opponents.
Conference opponents, but it's not a conference game.
Right.
If this is Dr. Cavill's show, I will make the correction on your report card. Good catch,
right?
There, Lawrence.
Okay.
Good catch.
Okay. Good catch. Yeah. EA says that the FAMU South Carolina State game might be South Carolina State's biggest crowd in 20 years. He might be right. That might be a big line there. Yeah. Larry, you know what, Larry? Every now and then we do open up the call lines on some of our other shows. We talk about doing it on this, but you can always drop your suggestions there or your top 5 in the chat room, Larry. And we'll be opening it up. He's got some thoughts there he wants to share with us. I did not forget about our bet, EA, as I'm anticipating 17. You're going to lose. 17,000, you're going to lose. I'm telling you now, there will be more than 17,000. If I have to do the marketing and promotions, there will be more than 17,000 at that game. Just to let you know.
Hey,
so,
Chuck Hunt reminded us that both Tuskegee and Hampton were institutes at one point also, as we talk about Howard and the HU battle. Hey, Brian, let's quickly look at some of the FCS D2 games. Go ahead, something.
Yes. Yeah. No. That's fine. Yeah. Let's take a look at those. Obviously, in week 1, this is the lineup of games that you have in week 1. You've got Alabama State, Miles College. You've got Southern hosting Florida Memorial. UAPB
That's the
hosting
Y
Lane
game.
College. Which game is the Y game?
Southern Memorial, Southern Florida. Why? Why are they playing their game outside the check?
Southern needs somebody to beat up after who they they need somebody to start the
That's
season
week
with.
1. That's week 1.
Yeah, they need somebody to play. Well, I mean, look, Florida Memorial's not going to pass up a check. I mean, good for them. Look, Southern's got more. Look, Southern's getting 750 from LSU. You don't think they got any extra? They got some money to spare. They do right. Delaware State versus Lincoln, PA. That's also on. Moving over to week 2, Morehouse versus Howard. That's an interesting game. A lot of bragging rights there. Who's got the bigger endowment? I'm sure somehow will get tossed around in that contest. How about this is an interesting matchup in week 3 to pay attention to. Upset. Kentucky State travels to Dayton to play on the Dayton Flyers, who are an FCS opponent, right? Kentucky State has beaten an FCS opponent each last 2 seasons. Now, that was a different coach, but current coach is part of the staff from the last couple years. The same thing will be run. There's an opportunity for possibly Kentucky to knock off their third or an FCS opponent for the 3rd consecutive year. And the other opponent, Drew, Mississippi Valley, taking on Delta State. Delta State actually ranked 15th in the Massey ratings in Division II. So that will not be a cakewalk for Mississippi Valley State. Excuse me. Any thoughts you want to add? Any upsets that you might see in those?
Definitely, I'm with Kentucky State, Dayton, possibly a game where you could have a D2 beat an FCS. Week 3, Valley, Delta State. If Valley is the team that we think Valley is supposed to be this year, they can't lose to a Delta State. I don't care what Delta State is ranked as a division. If people think Valley is going to the next step and be a contender in the SWAC, they've got to beat Delta State. And I'm gonna flip that. Lane, UAPB. If Lane is going to be a contender in the SIAC, they have to remain competitive against UAPB. That's just my couple of highlights
agree
right
with
there.
you. That game is a game that I think UAPB better be on their game against Lane. That'll be interesting. What about the potential any type of hangover for Alabama State coming off a 0 game against Howard and then having to play Miles? Who was it that Miles fits to last year in week 1 or 2 last year?
That was the Alabama State Miles game where Miles very easily could have. State struggled against Miles last year in the Labor Day Classic. But I do not expect struggle this year as they will have the Howard game to knock off all the rust instead of opening up against Miles. And Miles was a very competitive team last year. And let's think about it. Miles, with their non-conference schedule last year, played themselves out of contention as far as getting to the Division II playoffs because they went through 4 quarterbacks last year, and this was one of the games they lost the quarterback against this FCS opponent. So, will things be different, or will things be more the same this year in that game? I do expect Alabama State under Coach Erob to dominate that game, with that being their first game in their on their new turf in their stadium.
right, and I think